Parents of children with autism are faced with a huge task in trying to figure out what's best for their child. Who should get what treatment when? How do we know what is enough? When do we know what to change? How do we pull in different ingredients? Because we've got a host of very good techniques for working with children and adults with ASD. But we don't really have systematic evidence for what we should do with whom.
There have been many different models of intervention over the last several years, and one of those models is called applied behavior analysis. And this involves breaking down tasks into minor steps, little steps, and then teaching the child how to learn those behaviors, whether it's eye contact, social interaction, in a very systematic way, rewarding them for doing so.
Where's your feet?
Go like this. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, here he goes. Ready, set, go. Oh no.
And when you look at ABA, what does that mean? It means high expectations. I think it means taking skills, breaking down small little parts so that children can understand those skills.
All right, look, we're gonna put on our stuff, then we could play more, okay? Good job, you're doing so good.
Okay, try again. And try again. Try again. It's okay. Turn. See?
A little bit more.
Oh, you got it!
At the other end of the continuum, we had interventions that were very much focused on the relationship between the child and the therapist. Interventions such as floor time, where you get on the floor and you're really following the child's lead and you're focusing on forming that emotional connection.
When I first met him, Brady was almost nonverbal. He was very interested in the people around him, but when left on his own, he would choose to play individually. My initial goal with working with Brady was to really find what interests him.
And so it's an engagement that we have with the children where we are helping them become internally motivated so that they want to go out there and interact and do certain things.
The therapies that work in different domains. The DIR, floor time, play project model is going to do better than ABA when it comes to teaching parents how to interact with their children and to teach children to be more social and interactive. Whereas I think you're going to find that the ABA models that focus on academics and compliance, that's what they end up helping the children to achieve. We do better at interaction, they do better at cognition.
Brady, on your mark, get set. Yeah,
There is a fairly substantial body of research now that's accumulated over the last 10 years that, to my mind, shows strong empirical evidence for developmental models, in particular DIR, floor time, the play project, responsive teaching. And so I think the time has come for the developmental models to, what I call, have a seat at the table.
I mean, I really think of TEACH as one of the only ones that has developed a theoretical model here, a systematic approach that isn't about one specific therapy.
Okay, that is finished.
He matches each one of the pictures and then brings the activity over to the table so he can be more independent.
Who's that? Who is that? Ernie, yeah.
Structure is the vehicle that delivers the curriculum.
Check your schedule. See where you're going to go.
it's a whole approach to how you teach anything that is designed around the strengths of autism.
What you see in the Early Start Denver model is the rigor of ABA and the teaching practices, but that teaching is conducted in the context of a relationship and a play-based therapy model.
Night, kitty. Night, night, kitty. Time to go to sleep. Mwah. You're going to give him a kiss goodnight?
Dr. Rogers and I felt that both of these had value, that there was a science behind the teaching that goes on with ABA that's very rigorous, that's been shown to be effective, and yet we also know that the emotional and social relationship is so important.
Could that be a bathtub? Could that be a bathtub? Yeah. Two dirty animals.
Two dirty animals.
Yeah, now what do we do?
In the last few years, I've been involved in a project with Early Start Denver model, which very much choices.
You want crayons or markers?
This was markers.
Yeah, those are markers.
And this was crayons.
And these are crayons.
And I've been amazed at how much it increases a child's communication just to have multiple presses for choices along the way. There are virtually no comparative studies that directly contrast ABA to TEACH, to DIR, to Early Start Denver model. One way to do that may be to do short-term trials, like Connie Kassery does, where you do an intervention for 12 weeks or 16 weeks with a focused ingredient and see if that makes a difference.
I think some of the biggest advancements are now in really teasing apart some of the active ingredients of interventions. We've known for a long time that children benefit from structure, they benefit from ABA, but I think we're getting much better at teasing apart what is it about various aspects of the intervention that matter to particular children.
Go square. When Parker started, he was using 1 to 2 words, and so I kept all my language at 1 to 2 words. As we've gone through intervention, he's now using 3 to 4 words, and so I will use 3 to 4 words. More squares on!
Teaching children joint attention resulted in better language, but so did teaching children play skills. And we were really focused on symbolic play skills, imaginative play, because that's the harder thing for the children to learn. So that was also related to language outcome.
Occupational therapists have always been some of the main providers for children with various kinds of developmental disabilities.
I met a crab. Oh my goodness. It's coming. I'm coming.
I see someone's toes. Who could it be?
Sensory integration therapy is an intervention approach, and it became one among many interventions that an occupational therapist might provide.
But this is our pretend airplane, so climb aboard.
I don't want to play it anymore.
Well, you said you were going to get 100 animals.
Some of the comprehensive educational programs, like TEACH and even the Denver model, enfold sensory approaches that are very informed by what work that occupational therapists have been doing. In other settings, there is an interdisciplinary team, and a lot of the clinics have speech pathology, they have an ABA specialist, they have occupational therapists, and in those settings, the attempt is to put together the best customized plan for each child based on that child's needs.
Rowan, can you get the animals?
That all children really should have a good, thorough medical evaluation. Too often, children with autism can't tell us symptoms that help us identify other medical difficulties. And while there might be some controversy about how much of those medical difficulties have to do with the autism, clearly having medical difficulties makes autism worse. As we're beginning to think about nutritional kinds of interventions, or what have sometimes been called biomedical interventions, to help the body withstand whatever environmental stressors are coming its way and pushing towards a disorder, not necessarily using big gun medications, some of which we don't know enough about to know are they fully effective, but we know enough about to know are they safe. By weighing the risks and the benefits, by talking to families and determining their risk-benefit ratio as well. Parents and doctors together can help make a good decision about when to use medications or not.
I mean, one of the most important things that families need to know is, well, first of all, the importance of early intervention. You got to work with them. You know, a lot of hours, 20 or 30 hours a week of one-to-one interaction and engagement with an effective teacher. Then I get asked, what's an effective teacher? An effective teacher is one that gets more speech, gets more eye contact, better turn taking, better engagement with other kids.
If the child is sitting in a classroom and not paying any attention or just miserable, being in that classroom does no good. If they have a therapist who has a great plan but can't get the child to sit still, or the child is spending half their time whining to get out of the room, that's not worthwhile. So the first step is, how does the child feel about it? The second step, though, is, do you see changes in other situations? Because I can get a child to look great with me, but if the child doesn't continue to then look great with other people, in the long run, that's not what I'm going to choose.
The real issue is whether or not the children end up generalizing what they learn. And generalization is a lot easier in the play-based approaches, because essentially we're always working on generalization. I think from ABA, they've begun to recognize that generalization is important, and they've moved away from discrete trial treatments and moved much more toward off-the-table naturalistic environments, and I think they've been successful. So both philosophies move toward the importance of generalization, and when it works, it's magic.
I think the best approach is to not go to one program or another program, but to view it more that what we have here is we have a library shelf full of treatment approaches, and that the key is we pull the right volume off the shelf at the right time for the child, and then if the child is no longer making progress, we put it back on the shelf.
Every intervention should be defining very specific goals for your child, and those goals and the achievement of them should be measured daily, hourly. If your child isn't making progress, that's a good sign that maybe you need to be looking for a different therapist or a different intervention type.
You get that effective teacher, ABA starts to look like floor time starts to look like ABA, and the good teachers kind of morph into doing those things and getting that kid engaged.
And I think probably in the end, what people do is they look at their communities, what's available in the community, and then again, my bias would be, who is really good? The characteristics of the interventionist matter just as much as the philosophy behind it. So looking at what is there already and actually seeing, what do those people do? I mean, in autism, you get what you see.